Hey there, boys and ghouls. Welcome to this week's episode of Halloweekly. Nick and George here with a passion project, if you will.
Kind of a teaser for an upcoming series.
Yeah, the elder gods spoke to us in some weird language. We went crazy for a few days, detoxed, and we had this great idea.
Yes.
So, little backstory. When we get pumped up for the Halloween season, which is now, we are full throttle into the Halloween season. It's sort of like we're revving the engine. Then October 1st, wham, it'll go 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
The foreplay, if you will, to Halloween for us has always been Bravo's top 100 scariest movie moments.
There are moments created by master filmmakers which unleash your childhood fears.
Something can come in and bite you on the neck and turn you into this horrible vampire.
They infuse our nightmares
The film was so strong that I was a little worried that I caught some plague off the film.
and terrify us.
Almost every horror movie now has that last little
They push the boundaries.
Those moments when you think this filmmaker is dangerous.
They make us scream
For half the movie, I was like,
and jump out of our seats.
First time the shark jumped up, and I jumped. I didn't go out and around like, Daddy. It was just boom, boom.
These are the moments we never forget.
Even Pinhead, who doesn't do a decent, nice thing through 8 movies, but somehow or other still manages to get fan mail from women who would like to bear his children.
Presenting the 100 scariest movie moments. A countdown of the greatest moments of cinema shot.
Yeah, so it's a countdown that aired in
2004.
2004.
2004.
On Bravo, of all places, right?
Yes.
Right, which was apparently amazing back in the day. And they just, there's a lot of people who listen to the podcast who know this already. We actually did a live group watch with our Facebook group where tons of people came and watched the
was
countdown
so much fun.
with us, which was a blast. And we appreciate everyone that came. If you're not in the group, go, because fun stuff like that happens all the time.
You missed
there.
out.
You missed out, but we're going to do it again. The point is that a lot of people who hadn't even seen the countdown, they got exposed to it. And even though it's sort of dated, they were like, wow, this is so fun and it's great and like whatever, because there's just something magical about how they made it and the way like it
The
played.
choices,
The choice,
the people that are talking about it.
everything about that was like amazing. So it's a countdown from 100 to 1. Go check it out online. Google it if you're not familiar with it. But it's a really, really fun watch. Go ahead.
And it's just it's also there's also some real good gems in there that you wouldn't expect.
Yes.
And what I love about this list in particular is it's scariest movie moments. It's not scariest horror movie moments.
Yes.
Because there are things in there, like in just films that aren't, labeled genre or not labeled horror.
Sure.
That has some terrifying moments, like Jurassic Park.
Sure.
For one of them in there.
Or like, one of the things that they were able to do was, because I think one of the things that was important to them for their countdown were those generational moments where things floated up where everyone knew it, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone who grew up in a certain era knows not to scream in space because no one's going to hear you.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone knows like the Jaws theme, like whatever. And there were a few moments in there that were not strictly horror movies, but they put them in there because it really kind of marked a generation. I think the pinnacle of that in their choices for me was Fatal Attraction, right? Which is not a horror movie, but
Yeah.
I mean, that really impacted the people of the time that came out, right? Or like Single White Female was also one of their choices on the list. One of the things that I love about their, not just the list, but also the whole presentation, the atmosphere around it, all that stuff, was not just that they picked horror-adjacent movies, but also that they were picking moments, not movies.
Yes.
That was actually confusing for some of the people even watching in our group, because I know there were a few of them when something would pop up and they would be like, this was here, and they're like, oh, that shouldn't be there, but they were basing it on the movie, not the moment. If you think about if you judge the moment as a scary moment, right, then you're like, oh,
Then
I
it
totally
fits.
see why that's there, right? So I love that they went with moments and not 100 scariest movies.
Yeah, like they have
boring.
Like two of the choices on the list was Wizard of Oz and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yep.
And I think we all know what scene they're talking about in
Yep.
Willy Wonka. But it's that kind of take of like, and they're asking like these masters of horror, like what is it about that scene?
Right, exactly. But they also had horror deep cuts too, right? They had like the Beyond and the Brood, and they had demons. They had some real good Even horror movies that don't jump to your head to watch during the Halloween season. Mm-hmm. But once they get you revved up for it, right? Because that's the other thing is the most important thing about this thing was the way it's presented, the music, the transitions, and then when they present it, the people are so enthusiastic. Robert Englund is most of the time I see Robert Englund in person at horror cons or getting posted online or whatever. He's being kind of funny or sort of hamming it up, or he's being super quiet and like his like shy smart self like side. But in this one, he was really sinister, right? Like he was getting really into the talking about other movies that weren't Freddy movies. Because you don't get to see that a lot. Mainly Robert Englund's talking about Nightmare on Elm Street movies, right? Or Wes Craven or whatever. But in this one, you get to hear about what Robert Englund thinks about like The Tenant, right? Which is great. Kind of mind-boggling, right? So that part was really fun. Tom Savini was amazing. His comments.
All the authors and film critics in there.
Crazy good.
And what's great was to see film critics in there who weren't like, well, it's a horror film, so it's a 1 out of 10 for me. Like they're like, no, this part's scary, and I'm gonna break it down for you. You're gonna understand to your core why this scene works.
Totally.
And it's just
And they also they brought in actual people who were from the movie or cast members or whatever when they could, which is really cool. I loved seeing Carol Kane talk about When a Stranger Calls. Right? Just like from behind the scenes, how she was taking it, and the fact that the movie still scares the hell out of her, and she's in it, right?
Yeah.
Like just stuff like that. It's just really, really good. It was a really, really fun list.
But that came out in 2004.
Yes.
Now they did do 30 even scarier movie moments, which wasn't bad by any stretch. Of the
Wait. So let's do this. Let's map this. Okay. I wanted to do this for this episode.
Okay.
So if the 100 Scariest Movie Moments is a horror movie, like what level of goodness it is, right? I feel like it's one of my favorite countdowns I've ever seen. So basically, to me, it's like I wouldn't say it's the Exorcist of countdowns because that's like number one, but I'd say you see where I'm going. You'd see like it would be the Alien of countdowns, right? So the 30 Scariest Moments, that is the Alien Resurrection of countdowns. Do you see what I'm doing?
Yeah. So the first countdown was like Alien. It's solid.
Yes.
Like that's a great movie.
Yes.
Second one, you said it would be Aliens.
Like Alien Resurrection of countdowns.
Alien
so
Resurrection.
30 most scary moments. And then the next list they did
is Alien vs.
like
Predator
Scorpion
2.
King 4. Right. Yeah, they go down in quality pretty fast.
It went down real hard fast. But what sucked was that the second one, I mean, it was great to watch. Like I watched that one in particular as many times as Bravo showed it.
Sure.
But it didn't have like the magic of 100. Like 100.
Well, first of all, it's appetizer sized. It's not a meal.
Yeah, and
it was only 30.
And they only had, if I remember correctly, I don't remember them having near as many different voices speaking for the second one. And then I did not even watch all of whatever the third one was.
Right.
Because I skipped it.
Either.
And I was like, I don't know who anyone is. I don't really care about these choices right now. So we only really, for the idea, last one happened, the last good one that we count in our hearts, that we rewatch every year, happened in 2004.
Yes.
So what we are going to do, no one's filled this void yet. There is, Eli Roth has like a history of horror coming up. That's not a countdown. That's just a general history thing, which I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, totally.
But there hasn't been any definitive list with a bunch of different takes.
There have been a bunch of great horror docs on individual movies.
Yes.
And then there's really good horror stuff. Like there's one coming out of, I showed you, I forget the name of it, but it was like from BBC, so I can't watch it. But it was maybe some guy named Kermode who was doing episodes on horror movies and like what makes them great. But no one isolates the moments. They basically just take on movies or the genre entire.
Yes. And since it's been quite a while,
yes,
and we were sitting around thinking like, how cool would it be if Bravo just came back and did it again? And then we were like, wait a minute, well, we got ourselves a nice little platform with some of the best horror fans of the world.
That's right,
and one of the greatest podcasts and groups you'll find on the internet.
Yep.
Let's just do it our fucking selves.
Exactly.
And that's the spirit we came. As soon as we said that, and we had this inkling of like, well, we're just going to do it.
Yes.
So this is...
as of fall 2018, Halloweekly has become possessed by Bravo. So We'll do some RuPaul. We'll do
We'll do
some,
some, we'll do some RuPaul. We'll get dressed up.
No.
And talk about horror.
It's funny you said that because you were like, how cool would it be if Bravo did it? It wouldn't be cool at all anymore because Bravo's not Bravo or whatever it was then. It's not now.
That's right.
It would be cool for someone to do it, right? Like,
and someone to do it with that same passion. There was a passion in that list.
Exactly.
And so we have decided to take it amongst ourselves.
Yes.
To add, and this is a big challenge for us, and we are so excited. We are going to do Halloweekly's top 100. Oh wait, what was the title? I want to do something like not Bravo's Halloweekly's top 100 updated scariest movie moments.
It's a project in progress.
Yeah, the title of it is in progress. We will have the first one for you next week.
Right.
But we are just so jazzed about like even like the idea. It was so good. I had to get up and I started walking around. I was like, oh my god, this idea just brought so much energy. And who the fuck doesn't love lists? Lists are great.
And we have so many answers already from our Facebook group and from the people on Instagram and the people who follow us. And we're going to reach out to some connections to get some contributions to the list.
We've had some great people on the show.
Exactly.
We're going to reach back out to them suckers.
So we're going to build a comprehensive list that represents the community, just like Bravo did, right? So it's going to be super fun to put together, super fun to curate. It's going to be super fun to see what you guys.
Well, we should let people know. We and George just recently, before we did this episode, we went to the main page, and George was like, "Look who liked the page, John Carroll Lynch."
Yeah, let's reach out.
John Carroll Lynch, if you're listening, which I know you are, you're probably in between sets,
getting
your makeup done, listening to this. You know,
we are huge fans.
Yeah, definitely. I love you so much. I no longer call you Drew Carey's brother.
Right. And spoiler, I have a feeling a movie that you were in where you played a serial killer is going to be one of my contributions to this list coming up.
We were looking through, so we went with a criteria.
Yeah, let's talk about the criteria for a second, and feel free. After you've listened to this episode, if you care about horror and you like the podcast, reach out to us and let us know, because it's not entirely set in stone yet, but we're like 90-something% convinced that this is how we're going to do it. But we went back and forth.
Yeah.
Because originally, we were just going to update the list past when they aired it. So their main list was 2004.
Yeah.
We're going to do 2005 on, right? And just do that. And then we changed our mind like 4 times.
Yeah, we went back and forth.
Mainly
it was Wimbledon. It was back and forth and
Totally
back and forth.
Yep.
Because the idea for doing 2004 up was like, so when they did the 30 Even Scarier, it seemed like they were just putting in every film from like 2000 up. Like there was like Hostel, The Ring.
Yeah, it felt like a footnote. Like we didn't get to put these, so we're putting them now.
Yeah,
right?
And so we were like, okay, so that's what we'll do. Like we'll just take everything that we know for sure did not even have a chance to be on their list.
Yep.
Moving forward. So these are all films that did, like, no matter what, couldn't have made on that list.
Sure.
So they're ours for the pickings.
Absolutely.
But then we started thinking about all these other films that...
Well, we did think that, but we also thought about what make the list fun, what makes their countdown fun and exciting.
Because the best part of their countdown is 100 through 65.
No, the whole thing's great. Well, that's our favorite.
That's our favorite part.
Not the best, but that's our favorite part. But the thing that's magic about theirs is it really does feel the best kind of random. Not crazy random, but like thoughtful random, right?
Yes.
Because all of a sudden, one minute you're hearing from Tom Savini, and the next minute you're hearing from the Coors twins, and the next minute you're hearing from Gilbert Gottfried, and the next minute you're hearing from Clive Barker. And it's that randomness is great. And then you're jumping from movies like Audition to movies like Cat People to movies like, and the fact that you get to time travel through black and white and silent and color and gory and elegant, and like that's part of what makes it special. And all the movies from 2005 to 2018 are going to have way more in common with each other than if we picked from anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So we decided, let's just
open the floodgates.
Right. Let's just do it right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do another 100 Scariest Moments, right? And the only criteria to this is it can't be anything that appeared on the first list.
Yeah.
That's and then I've got personal criteria for it, but let's talk about that. Like one of my personal criteria things is that I'm going to want to choose movies that are at least horror adjacent or have like that are scary for more than just when that one moment happened, right? So I don't want to like a good example in their list. They put Pacific Heights on there, right? Well, Pacific Heights is a pretty unsettling movie all the way through.
Yeah.
Right?
And it has one big...
Right.
Yeah.
And Willy Wonka is unsettling all the way through. And Wizard of Oz has a lot of creepy moments, not just one, right? And it's definitely terrifying to children, like when you catch it in the right age and the right mindset. It's kind of like scarring almost, right? So I wanted to do that and not pick like a really, really scary random jump scare from like a comedy, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of my personal criteria. Do you have any that you've already
Mine is sort of similar. So I'm not gonna pick like if there's like a Disney film that has like Ursula in it or some scary scene. I'm not gonna be like that's the one. Like obviously that's the scene. So it's a little similar to yours. I'm gonna try to find for this list like the one film, and I know it might be somewhere on my list, would be like a film like Sicario.
Yeah,
I could, because there is a sense of dread throughout that film. So I think
Totally.
so. I think that's probably the biggest criteria, is what you just mentioned, is it has to have sort of an unsettling feeling the whole time. It can't just be like one random jump scare, random thing. It has to be something that makes you feel weird, and then that scene happens and it just justifies everything.
Totally.
And you're like, well, fuck me.
And it's going to be mainly horror, like that you could just comfortably call horror, I would imagine, is how the list is going to break out. But there's definitely going to be, like, I'm toying with... So for example, and the other thing is, I guess my only other criteria is I don't want it to be too personal for me, right? So like I find one of the most terrifying scenes I've seen in movies in like 20 years is in There Will Be Blood. But I'm not going to put it on the list because I know that it's very, very personal to me. It's how I took it, right? But I might put like the coin toss scene in No Country for Old Men in there.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't feel like that's personal to me. I feel like a lot of people found that terrifying, and he's basically a horror villain in a thriller.
Yeah.
Right. So, but we're going to explain the list. So whatever. I just wondered if you had thought through like your like personal criteria.
Well, the films that I first thought of are all safely in the horror genre. There hasn't been a few that I've encountered where I'm like, is it close? Is it close enough? So
right.
It all just depends on when we get because we have to filter out a lot of films, which is gonna suck.
Yeah, it's totally. That's true.
That's gonna be the most heartbreaking thing, and then that's what I'm bracing for the most with this, is people saying like, well, why didn't you put this? Why didn't you put that?
Right.
And the thing is there can always be top 300. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the other important thing to say about this is that their list wasn't definitive, and obviously not. Our list is not striving to be definitive either, right? I could fully foresee doing another series next year on Halloween that's another scariest, like whatever, or we could just do 30 and purposely pick bad ones and then follow their pattern.
Do another 10, and we don't even try. Right. Just me in the other room being like, I liked I don't know, Halloween 10.
Mighty Ducks was
good.
So yeah, that's kind of how that's gonna go. So I'm really, really excited for this project, and I'm excited to collaborate with people and get all you guys, all the people who are listening.
We do have
contributions as well.
One thing, so like with this list, we do have like streaming. So we have Netflix, we have Shudder, we have Amazon, like a lot of films that go straight to there. So we have the blessing of having those.
CBS All Access.
CBS All Access.
Whatever channel that Mr. Mercedes is on.
Yeah. And well, and then there is one caveat that we both discussed. That we will get into. That's a spoiler.
Yeah. So let's not spoil it, but like we are basically ruling out TV shows.
Basically.
Unless there's a TV show made by someone that's primarily a filmmaker, where the TV show could be seen as basically a long form film,
like a 14-hour.
Go figure who that is. Right?
That's not
that's not a spoiler. So yeah, but mainly, and then that's the other thing is I think there's that person that we're talking about. There's two exceptions there. One is they have a long history of scaring the shit out of us and moviegoers in general. And the second thing is that there's some things that are so frightening you just can't leave them out, because it was literally one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen on a screen, right? So
yeah, I got sucked in.
Yeah, so I feel like it just bullies its way in.
But stuff like Penny Dreadful, Ash vs. Evil Dead, Preacher,
right, totally.
Walking Dead.
As great as they are, they're not even built on moments anyway, really.
Yeah.
Not the scary moments. They're built on narrative moments and cliffhangers and whatnot. Like, is Carl going to die or whatever? But they're not built on like the scary moments the way that you kind of craft like that stairway ball moment with Changeling. That's just like
Jesus Christ,
right? Like,
it's funny when we were talking about films that like they gave a shout out to early in the episode. I was looking at that on the list, going, "Yeah, that's a solid choice."
Right.
And it's those types of picks that just made it such an interesting. It was that type of pick for that scene, because it is just like I couldn't like when I go home to visit my family, I can't walk around with the lights out because there's a stairway, and I'm like, no.
This ball's gonna come.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yep.
But I am so excited to sort of. I mean, we're basically just being like, hey, Bravo, this is ours now. Like,
Yeah.
we're just we're just gonna.
If you want to collaborate, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, you know what? People from Bravo,
You
if you're
guys can-
listening, if you got Clive Barker's email, I'd love to hear what he thinks about our choice that's not going to be spoiled
I do
until
too.
like the last episode, probably.
And I mean, think about it. Like, it's there have been I don't know. They make like 2 or 3 Stephen King movies a year, right? This thing hasn't been updated since 2004.
There's so much stuff.
That's what
in
we
there.
were talking about. Is how many great things have happened since, and how many things you've discovered that you didn't like know existed or didn't have the time to get around to. Like, I'm a huge horror fan, and I've seen tons of horror movies, but I had never ever seen Return of the Living Dead 3.
Yeah.
Right. But now I've seen it, and now I'm like, okay, well, maybe that'll be on the list, because it's not that it's new, it's just new to me.
Yeah,
Right?
like one of the films on Bravo's list was Night of the Hunter, and I remember the film critic. I think it was film critic, or I think it was author. Actually, he was the guy that had the chops, like the mustache.
That's Kim Newman, I think.
He's great.
He's great, yeah.
And I remember he said when Robert Mitchum was running up the stairs with his arms out, like that's like a Frankenstein-y type of thing. And I've never forgotten his words describing that film in that scene. And I never forgot the girl, it's in my doll, it's in my doll. The doll, of course. Like, I've never forgotten that scene.
With a flick knife in his pocket, which is constantly emerging through his jacket whenever he sees a loose woman who he wants to kill off. And he does, of course, eventually kill off Shelley Winters, although because she won't tell him where the loot from the robbery is. And he then goes after the children.
It's not my doll! It's not my doll!
The doll! Why, sure. Last place anybody think to look. It's the first true bogeyman of the cinema. He actually is seen leaping up the stairs in a wholly inhuman fashion.
But as a horror fan, the first time I watched Night of the Hunter was just a few days ago when we did it in the live group.
Sure.
And this film for some reason has just impacted me. Like it's like Carnival of Souls.
Mm-hmm.
It's impacted me in a way that I can't describe. Like, I haven't stopped thinking about it. I even Googled Robert Mitchum today. I was like, what did this dude look like when he was older? Like,
right.
And because of Bravo, like, I remember that scene. Mm-hmm. So then when I finally watched the film, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Mm-hmm. And there's so many films, obviously because it's 100, you can't fit every film.
No.
We even had a lady on the post. I don't know if you saw this. You got to pick 3 werewolf films.
Yes.
And she was like, there's so many werewolf films you didn't post. And so I was kind of trolling. I was like, really? So then I added like 3 random ones.
I saw that. You were
I was
like,
like,
2 of your sisters are werewolf.
And I was like, does that round out the list? And then she commented like this big long list. But that being said, there are a ton of films.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I don't want to get all wrapped up in so much in where they ranked. I mean, we're going to do that some because we're competitive people. So like, I'm going to want my choices to be good or whatever. But like, I'm less concerned about that and more concerned about how passionate can I get?
Yes.
About what the choice is, right? And like, how passionate could other people get about the
because
choices
let's face
they
facts.
suggest? Right?
Number 1 on Bravo's was Jaws, and number 99 was Creepshow.
Yes.
There is no difference to me between 99.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go to 1 to 100, their first choice is 28 Days Later.
Yep.
Compare that to I see no difference. To me, it's just a matter of what kind of interesting tidbits can I hear from these other people about this film.
Well, and there's also like to me, there's clearly a difference between. I think one of the things that'll be interesting while we build the list is what secret criteria is going to sneak in. I think the secret criteria that was running the Bravo list was how big an impact did it have on what size audience, right? Like relevance, I guess, is how I would say it, right? Because Night of the Hunter is arguably a better movie than Jaws, right? But there's no way the Night of the Hunter had more of an impact on people in terms of scaring them than Jaws, obviously, right? They're not even the same.
Ooh,
so
that's a tough one, though.
Right,
Jaws
but that
was Night of the Hunter, yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, I think a lot of people appreciated Night of the Hunter, and a lot of people were chilled by Robert Mitchum's performance or whatnot. But I mean, like Jaws changed behavior.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's the thing is, so like with this list, I'm really curious to see where Paranormal Activity lands for us.
Right.
Because talk about impact. Holy shit.
Well, yeah. And then there's impact on the field and the financial impact and all that stuff. Like we were just talking about, we just did a review of The Nun, and it's such a mixed bag in terms of as horror fans, because the movie's pretty not great, but it also made an amazing amount of money. Right?
Yeah.
So it's good to see a horror win, but it's also
at the same time, you're like, well, don't.
Troubling that it's for that, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing is that's why I think it gets really fun when you get to the top of these lists. It's fun to discover things in the bottom of the list where like the quirky ones sneak in. But when the top of the list, it's fun to just get clear of all that and be like, there's nothing bad about Jaws, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing bad about The Exorcist. There's no reason to even question like why that's there, right? So it's gonna be super fun. It's gonna be really
now that oh my God. This is going to be the most fun series, ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a lot of fun with How Low Can We Go. I'm still having fun with How Low Can We Go.
Yeah, we got like 4 or 5 more.
But this is a Halloween season kind of thing. This is perfect for that. So
yeah, and we're probably going to push out an extra few episodes to maybe. It just depends. We are just, the only thing I care about is how excited we are to build this list and how much I hope all the listeners love it.
Yes. And I'm also excited about like the multimedia stuff that's going to come out of it, because I know that we're planning to make some videos that are kind of compilations of some, of the choices, like 5 at a time. We'll have some stuff going on. So if you're not following Halloweekly, at Halloweekly on Twitter or Facebook and Instagram, follow, because we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff with the list as it's coming out, not just as episodes, but also like the visual presentation of it. It's going to be a blast.
And what you guys think
of
the list too, because even watching a list from 2004, people had opinions.
Well, and this is going to be really important because definitely my choices are definitely going to be steered somewhat by how the group votes, because we're going to have the Facebook group voting on some of the like what they would like to see in the list, right?
Yeah.
So not only is it going to impact like kind of what I choose based on what they vote on and how persuasive they are about like what they're saying, like how passionate they get about it, right? But also, I mean, I'm just not going to be able to think of all of them. Something might surface to be like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that movie, and holy crap, that totally,
What I'm really curious is when we put it on paper. Like, where do the films that I always champion land? Because I don't want to put them on there just because they're my personal favorite.
Yes.
So, like, The Monster Squad.
Or Trick or Treat.
Right. Like there are some scary movie moments in there, but are they going to be as scary as, like, I don't know. I keep thinking of that Blake Lively shark film.
Shallows?
The Shallows. The only scene, because the movie, I liked it.
It's okay.
But when the guy, the way he said that was like, I broke the vase in the living room. You're like, it's fine. Let's get another one.
Let's just glue it together.
But even like, I really thought that scene when the shark jumped up and got her friend out of water. Like, I thought that scene looked really fucking good, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Sure.
So I'm like, where does that land? Does that land higher than Sleepy Hollow? How does that land higher than Sleepy Hollow?
No, it doesn't. Right.
But the fact that
maybe the moment does. Right.
Yeah, but that's what we have to start calculating.
Well, and we're good. I think we're good, and people get the idea. So, but I think one topic untouched that is really came to mind first when we came up with this idea that is interesting to me is also just how personal and subjective being scared is.
Yes.
And trying to judge how that impact is on others, right? And how you generate yourself. So interesting, right? I had just messaged Nick and said, "Oh my God, have you seen Revenge? This is like my favorite horror movie of the year." But I got to be honest with you. There's a certain kind of horror that for some reason just doesn't scare me like other kinds of horror do, right? So like survival horror, for example, doesn't really terrify me. So I'll give you an example. The Hills Have Eyes remake is a really well done horror.
Yeah.
Right? It does justice to the original. It's even better than the original in some respects, right? It doesn't pull any punches. It's totally brutal, right?
Yeah.
And you would think that would be terrifying, right? You would think that the idea of you're just randomly trying to enjoy your life, go on a trip, and you get set up, your trailer gets broken, they run into a rock, and now all of a sudden your whole life is ruined and you're going to get tortured and die because you made one mistake. You would think that would be scary, but it's not scary to me at all. There's disturbing moments, right?
Yeah.
But that movie doesn't scare me. I watched The Exorcist, and then I don't want to be in the dark for the next 48 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Like that movie sits with me and then scares me, right? So but it's subjective. I'm sure there's people who are terrified by Hills of Eyes who think The Exorcist is just boring or slow. Or
Yeah.
So it's just a total crapshoot of what
And
affects
seeing
you
how
and what
that
doesn't affect you, right? So even though Revenge is my favorite horror movie of the year so far, I think, I had no hesitation after it was over being like, if someone had been like, because that's one of my tests, right? If someone had been like, hey, if Jenny had been like, hey, I don't feel that great, I need some medicine. Could I walk at 2 a.m. in the fog, in the dark to like Walgreens to go get some medicine, whatever? Because I'm not doing that after Exorcist 3. I'm just telling you right now, there's no way.
No way.
I'm getting in a car and I'm putting the bright lights on and I'm like, whatever. I'm not like... So like but Revenge didn't sit with me that way, right? But which is clearly, I mean, I'm male, right? So obviously that has a lot of bearing on the effect. But the point is, there's certain kinds of horrors that sit with people a certain kind of way, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that breaks out in the list, right? So is there a genre of horror that you just find not personally scary? You can appreciate it and you enjoy the movie, but you don't. Like, do home invasion movies terrify you? Do alien abduction movies?
I mean, everything scares me.
So you're good.
If I had to pick,
Nick's set for this.
If I had to pick, there's just something, and I know people are like, Terrifier's great, like
right.
It and all that stuff. Like
I like Terrifier.
But like, there's like really no story. It's just kind of like you get killed because the clown saw you.
So like splatter movies don't really.
I think
That's fine.
I think they could be like, people say it's gruesome, and it is. Like the effects are really great, but it doesn't scare me.
But you find it so unrealistic that you can't.
Yeah. Because for me, like Silence of the Lambs is way scarier than Terrifier.
Well, that's not even.
Because it depends on how invested I am in the story.
Right.
Which is why I didn't find The Nun scary. And I thought The Nun was going to freak me the fuck out.
Sure.
Like I thought it was going to be way terrifying. It's it's this gothic setting with these creepy nuns. But because there was no story and I didn't care about anything, the jump scares were like...
Well, Conjuring 2 had a really solid story, so...
But Conjuring 2 scared me.
So it did scare you, right?
Yeah, and Conjuring 2 did scare me.
So you need story. You need to feel like you're being taken out of yourself and into the realm of the movie.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen when you're watching something you think is ridiculous. Like, right.
Yeah.
Got it. That's a totally solid
And not that
criteria.
Terrifier is ridiculous. Like, I think the clown
Terrifier
design...
is pretty ridiculous.
But the clown design is cool.
No, yeah, for sure.
It's cool. And
right.
they could do something really cool with that. Like, give it a story.
Right, but there's no story to Terrifier.
Exactly.
Terrifier is a cat and mouse game with I know. I feel like this is like this movie is my least favorite relative. That it's always the one I reach to beat up. I don't know why. And I apologize to this movie. Sorry. You're like my black sheep second cousin. I'm sorry, but Don't Breathe. Right? Like had a story in the cat and mouse part of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like one person is just trying to get away. There were like urban elements. There were comments on like the politics of how you let a city fall apart like that.
Yeah.
You know, what happens when you have limitations, physical limitations, like, and how scary is it to know that the other senses pick up and become like super powered, right? Like it had all of that in there. Terrifier is just a clown trying to kill people.
Yeah.
Right? There's no story at all to Terrifier. Even I know that, right? I liked it, but I don't.
Yeah, design's cool, and it's the same with the Nun. Cool design, cool stuff.
There's
but
no
like,
fucking story in the Nun either.
Yeah, just that's what I'm saying. Like I had a story,
Right, exactly.
You're solid.
Exactly.
So that's gonna hinder part of my list.
That's a great criteria. I'm ashamed of my criteria. Yours is better than mine.
Well, I just pulled mine out of my ass right now. So, but I didn't know.
Wait, you're just telling us a story? Huh?
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Well, we had to get the gears turned on to know,
we did have to
know where it is because the idea is so fresh and we're just so excited.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, so
Cool.
so let us know if there's anything that you think definitely needs to be on the list.
So here's the thing: I mean, there's actually I should actually do this on this episode right now. So
let's do it
because here's my list. Ready?
Here it is. 3.
All right. There's a website called filmspectrum.com, and if you Google Bravo Scariest Moments Film Spectrum, it gives you just the list. You don't have to watch the whole countdown.
Yeah.
It's just like the list from 100 to 1. So remember, we were looking for all kinds of suggestions. You tell us your favorite scariest moments. The only criteria is it can't be something they already did.
Yes.
So make sure don't suggest to us something that's already on this list.
It could be on the extra 30 they did because we don't care.
We won't even know what's on there.
I don't know what's on there. I know Hostel.
Hostel.
I know Hostel's on there. I feel like that they made that extra list for Eli Roth and Hostel, which God bless them because it did have some great moments.
Right.
But that list was for Eli Roth.
You feel free to sneak something past us on the 30. We don't care. But
we're not going to vet that.
Just don't suggest. Right. Exactly. And if it's like super iconic, if it's a movie that's in the top 10 horror movies of all time, if it's Alien, Exorcist, the Thing.
Yeah, well, those are on the list.
It's you don't even bother. You don't have to Google it because they did it.
Yeah,
right,
yeah. If it's one of the classics, you don't have to worry about that.
Don't be like, oh, Halloween, because that's.
if not, we're gonna do an episode just dedicated to you, like so. Halloween is the film with the kill. I'm just gonna be real condescending the whole time.
Right.
That's a bad way to say it, but I could be petty once. I get once a year. I should just have a petty episode where I get all
like
my
the
gripes.
Purge, except for your.
Oh my God, we need to have one
day.
episode a year where we just gripe about like the dumb things that we do as horror fans that we need to get over. It'll just be a purge day to just release the energy. Not all remakes suck, you idiots.
Or if you can technically figure out how to Mission Impossible, we'll do the episode and be like, this episode will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Well, that's what you can do with Lipson. This episode self-destructs in 3 weeks.
Good point. Yeah,
there we go.
True.
So,
all right, cool. Well, we're excited. We hope you're excited. We know the season is exciting inherently. So
it's just so much fun.
Let's do this.
And if there's any more important time now is to stay scary and watch a bunch of horror movies because we need your opinions.
Exactly.
We need your opinions. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.